Welcome back to Waynesider, where we dive into the raw, beating heart of professional wrestling. Tonight, we're wading into a tragedy that's left the WWE Universe stunned, a loss so gut-wrenching it's brought even the most resilient to their knees. The locker room is cloaked in sorrow, and we're here to unpack the emotional weight of a moment that's changed everything. His journey was always one of defiance, a visionary who carved his path with unrelenting ambition. Power surged through every move, every calculated step in the ring, building a legacy that burned bright. He was the architect, crafting moments that defined eras, his charisma a force that reshaped the WWE landscape. But power like that comes with a shadow, and the pressure to sustain it was immense. The expectation to innovate, to lead, to be the spark that ignites the crowd pressed down like a storm cloud. Behind the confident smirk, every match was a test, a balancing act of genius and grit under the weight of a storied name. Please like, share and subscribe for more WWE content. In the quiet corners of the locker room, silent resentment began to stir among those closest. Allies who shared his vision, who stood by him through battles, felt the sting of his spotlight. Backstage, their laughter grew strained, their own dreams dimmed by his brilliance, sowing seeds of discord in bonds once thought unbreakable. This emotional history traces back to a brotherhood forged in the fires of ambition, not bound by blood but by shared struggle. Their legacy was one of revolution, a group that redefined what wrestling could be. But revolutions are heavy, and the pressure to keep pushing forward turned camaraderie into a complex web of loyalty and longing. Away from the arena's roar, those tensions simmered in fleeting moments, clipped words during travel, a glance held too long in the gym. His power, once a beacon for their collective rise, began to feel like a wedge, separating him from those who should have been his strength. The bonds started to fray, thread by quiet thread. He stood as a trailblazer, his every action a blueprint for greatness, each title reign a testament to his vision. But the pressure was relentless, a constant hum beneath the cheers. Fans saw the mastermind, the show stealer, but those closest saw the man, carrying the weight of expectation on shoulders that rarely faltered. Silent resentment grew in the hearts of those who felt overshadowed, their own paths eclipsed by his radiance. It wasn't hatred, but a quiet ache, loyalty tangled with envy, admiration laced with longing. They stood in his corner, but each chant for his name carried a subtle pang, a reminder of their own deferred dreams. The emotional history of this saga is one of power's paradox, lifting him to heights while isolating him in plain sight. The pressure to be the visionary, to carry the group's legacy, wore at his edges, even as he stood tall. Their shared dream, a source of pride, became a crucible, testing bonds that once seemed eternal. In the locker room's dim glow, camaraderie masked the growing divides, but the undercurrents told a different story. Veterans traded knowing looks, while younger stars absorbed the lessons of ambition's cost. His power drew awe, but also envy, a silent force humming beneath every interaction. As the pressure mounted, so did the silent resentments, coiling tighter with every sold-out show. He pushed forward, the embodiment of resilience, but the emotional toll was palpable. The brotherhood, once a fortress, began to show cracks, strained by unspoken grievances and unshared burdens. This story was always building toward a breaking point, the emotional history a prelude to a moment that would shatter everything. Power had made him a legend. But pressure had worn him thin, and silent resentment had armed those closest with motives they scarcely dared to voice. Then, in a heart-stopping instant, the attack came, a brutal betrayal that tore through the WWE's core. Halfway through this saga, the truth exploded, not from a rival, but from a brother in arms, a strike that turned the ring into a battlefield of broken trust. The crowd gasped, frozen in disbelief as the tragedy unfolded live. The arena fell silent, fans clutching their hearts as the betrayal played out in agonizing clarity. Power, his armor for so long, offered no protection against this treachery. The pressure he'd carried became a flood, and the heartbreak on his face was a wound that cut through the WWE Universe's soul. Backstage, the locker room erupted in chaos, wrestlers gathering in stunned silence, some fighting back tears. Real whispers spread. Tales of ignored warnings, of tensions that simmered too long, now exploded in a moment of unthinkable cruelty. The emotional aftermath was a storm, raw and unrelenting. This heartbreaking loss wasn't just a moment, it was the unraveling of a legacy. The group's WWE story, built on years of shared triumphs, now bears a scar that may never heal. The attack severed more than trust, it fractured a brotherhood, leaving its future uncertain and its past tainted. In the days that followed, the locker room remained cloaked in grief, wrestlers reflecting in hushed tones. Real backstage whispers spoke of regret, of moments where reconciliation could have changed the course but didn't. The pressure to move forward clashed with the need to mourn, a tension that gripped all. For their legacy, this betrayal is a seismic shift, redefining rivalries and reshaping alliances. The power he held, once a unifying force, now feels hollow, the vision shadowed by treachery. Their name, a pillar of wrestling's modern era, now carries the weight of this fracture, its glory dimmed. Fans are in mourning, their heartbreak flooding social media with shock and sorrow. The image of that moment, captured in haunting slow motion, feels like a wound to the collective soul of the WWE Universe. This wasn't just a storyline, it was a shattering of something sacred, a loss that resonates deeply. The emotional aftermath reveals a truth: betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from those you call family. Silent resentments, once whispers, have left a permanent mark, a reminder that even the strongest bonds can break under pressure. The legacy endures, but it's forever changed, etched with pain. In the quiet after the storm, the locker room reflects on loyalty and loss, each member carrying the weight of what happened. Real whispers hint at deeper rifts, of chances for unity lost to pride and ambition. The shock of that night lingers, a wound to the heart of the roster. As we unravel this tragedy, their WWE legacy stands at a crossroads. Power, once a beacon, now feels tainted, and the pressure to rebuild is daunting. The attack has rewritten the narrative, turning allies into adversaries, pride into pain, leaving a void where unity once stood. In this heartfelt reflection, we see betrayal as the true villain, eroding trust in a world built on it. Broken bonds, once the backbone of this brotherhood, now lie scattered, wounds too fresh to heal. Blood, spilled in the ring and in spirit, tells a story of loyalty tested and found wanting. The WWE Universe mourns together, a collective gasp at what was and what might have been. This heartbreak is a testament to the human heart at wrestling's core, where power and pressure collide with devastating consequences. The legacy endures, but it carries the weight of this tragedy. Thank you for joining us on Wainsider, where we honor the stories that make wrestling more than a sport. It's a saga of blood, sweat, and tears. Until next time, hold tight to those you trust, for in this world, the line between ally and adversary can blur in an instant.